just down at the goat shelter, well, the donkey shelter now, and we're just bringing a few bits down here because we're going to start a little project this weekend on the shelter. So today we're going to be doing a final rendering layer on our donkey stable. When we built it last year, we finished it off with just a layer of clay, a clay finish, which is fine, but it's not completely impermeable. Just for better weatherproofing and longevity, it's better to put a lime render on the outside of this. So that's what we want to do this weekend. However, a lime render isn't going to stick very well. What are you doing? A lime render isn't going to stick very well just to this clay surface. So we're actually going to do 2 layers. We're going to first put on what's called a grabbing layer, which is going to be a layer that sticks to the clay and also will allow the lime render to stick to that layer. So it's like an in-between layer. It's going to be made of what's called lime stabilized clay, I think. So it's basically like the same kind of clay mix, clay, sand, water, but with about 10% lime in there as well. And then the next layer, which will be just lime, will go on top, and because there was a little bit of lime in the previous layer, they should stick. I'm not an expert in this, but we do have a neighbour and good friend who is a certified natural builder, which is really, really handy for us, and he's given me some tips on this. So I'm hoping it's going to work. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a really fun day. We're going to have a bunch of people around. We've got people staying with us at the moment, which is why I thought it would be a good time to do this. And we'll have lots of pizzas at the end of the day. We started off with a small test batch of the lime stabilized clay.
This is quite soft.
Yeah, and it will scratch. Well,
Oh,
that looks nice.
that looks nice. That looks like a proper plaster. I think just we do the little bits where we're working, so yeah, we'll try quickly.
Yeah, I feel like there should be someone in charge of going around scratching.
Watering and scratching.
Yeah. So yeah, we're covering. We made a mix that has 10% lime. We're just doing like a little test here, and we're gonna just see how it behaves.
Once we were happy with the ratios, we started making bigger batches. With the bigger batches of plaster, everything moved very quickly. The previous clay layers had been applied with our hands, but we applied this plaster with trowels, which was much faster, and it wasn't long until we'd done most of the outside of the stable. Just snuck away for a minute to do some lunch. Got a basket of stuff here from the garden. Lots of lettuce, some kale, a lot of broad beans in the bottom of here. I'll see what I can put together with this. After lunch, it was time to apply the final lime render on top of the grabbing coat that we'd finished in the morning.
I'm gonna let the sun shine in today. I'm trying to make this darkness go away.
We did now the outer layer. It's 2 of lime, 3 of sand. So it's more waterproof and also breathable for humidity. So hopefully this is the last layer we're gonna have to put on this thing. But it's going super fast because we can, with that mixer, we could mix bags of sand and lime. So we did like a really big batch, and that's probably gonna cover half of the building. So we only have to do 1 more. So it's going super quickly. I'm very optimistic about finishing this afternoon.
Gonna let the sun shine in today. And I will leave my windows open so that I can hear the sound of people talking and the wind blowing in the trees. Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly.
Here you go, wear this, be safe.
Starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way.
Gato con guantes con ratones.
I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day. I'm gonna let the past be filled with smoke. And I will try to fix what has been broken. And take this weight off my
Yeah, it's looking great. Like this part, Abby has done like sponging and flattening, and it looks really smooth.
The whole thing looks smooth.
Minor cracking, but it's to be expected, I imagine.
Just put water on it.
Yeah. But yeah, super smooth.
mind be carried by the waves. Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like
Carla, vosotros también aquí, estamos todos en 1 metro cuadrado. Venga, fuera.
the sunshine in the day.
No. No.
Finally, all that was left to do was to clear up, and then it was time to enjoy Melrose famous sourdough pizzas, which we definitely all deserved after a long day's work.
We burned a bit.
Just a little bit. As you can see, the stable, the render has cracked a little bit on the outside of the stable, but it's not too bad. We think we might put another thin coat on just to cover up any of the cracks. Not sure why it did this. It could be, I don't think it was because it dried too quickly, because we kept it really wet and it was a much cooler day than when I did the dog kennel, and that didn't crack at all. I wonder if it's some combination between like the grabbing layer that we did and the way that dried and expanded and contracted, combined with this layer on top. Maybe the two of them together just like dried at different rates or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's not too bad. It's super strong, I think, and I think it looks so good. I wanted to answer a few questions in this video, and a few of the questions that we've got have had to do with Moses and animals in general. A common question we've had is, how is Moses doing? He's doing good. He is still unfortunately on his own. The goats aren't back, not for want of trying. We tried about a week ago, but it wasn't happening. We're hoping to try again this weekend. So in the meantime, we're just trying to spend lots of time down here with him and give him lots of attention from us. In the last video, I mentioned that Moses wasn't really eating that much. I wasn't sure if it was stress or what. I found out actually that he's pretty overweight. Donkeys have this fat store on the back of their necks, and his is really big. It kind of flops from side to side. He's also got quite a bit of fat on his chest, and you can tell by how you can't really feel his ribs and his spine that he's pretty overweight. So I think the issue is he was fed unsuitable food in his previous home, wherever he came from, and he's just not used to eating more suitable, bland, boring food, which is more suitable for a donkey. He has now started eating his straw. I've been mixing it in with a little bit of alfalfa because I felt a bit sorry for him having this horrible bland diet suddenly forced upon him. But he is now eating it, which is good, and yeah, hopefully we'll see him drop a little bit of weight over the next few months. But he probably wasn't even hungry because he's just been overfed or fed the wrong stuff. So everything's going well with his food. I'm also working on trying to do a little bit of training with him. We're working on his skills, like working with the lead, the halter, following me around the stable. There's different types of halter that I'm going to need to buy as well that are good for different things. I mean, this is all like a whole new world to me. I've never worked with horses or done anything like that, so I'm learning slowly, but he's doing really well. We walk around the stable quite a few times and I give him little treats as he follows and he stops and I want him to stop. He's a little bit more unpredictable going outside the enclosure on his lead. A couple of times he has just seen something that's interested him in the distance and like bolted for it. Obviously I can't keep hold of him, he's too strong. When that happens, it's fine, like he stops and I catch him up, or he comes back to me if he sees a carrot or something, so it's okay, but it's obviously not what you want, and I don't want to take him out on longer walks outside of our property if I can't fully trust him. So we have to work on that, I think, and yeah, it's just going to be a long process, but we'll get there. Would we like to get a second donkey? Actually, yes, we would. If you'd asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have said, no, the donkey and the goats will be fine. But having thought about it some more, I actually think that our long-term plan is probably going to be to have the goats in here where they were intended to go. We built this for the goats. And to put the donkey with another donkey, a second donkey, somewhere else. I just think that the donkey could have a little bit more space, and I think overall he'd probably be happier with another donkey than with goats, although they can bond with any livestock animal, but I just think two donkeys would be nicer. We've actually had our eye on a field that borders our land for a little while. It's a super overgrown abandoned field. It's the field that the massive pumpkins kind of invaded last year, and it's quite big. I think it would be really good to potentially see if we can buy that field, put a big electric fence around the outside and have the donkeys in there and build them a separate shelter of their own in there. The other great thing about having that field is that it comes up really close to the edge of our house, our land, and there's some big trees in there and some stuff that we'd like to kind of tidy up, clear up, that comes really close to our house and our land. And I think just for fire protection really it would be good if we could keep that land clear and not sort of be relying on somebody else who doesn't clear it at all at the moment. So yeah, for that reason, we're kind of interested in that as a slightly longer term plan. So yeah, another donkey could be on the cards. I came out to harvest some onions, but I found a lot of beetroot actually, so harvested some beetroot instead. Normally I eat the tops because they're tasty, it's like chard, but it's all kind of gone to seed, so they're probably going to be a bit bitter, so I think I'm going to cut the tops off and give them to the chickens. Found lots of other tasty stuff for the chickens as well that is a bit past it, and yeah, I guess we'll have beetroot soup today. chickies. I know some of these onions could be a little bit bigger, but I want half of this bed back. I'm gonna probably harvest this cabbage as well today. This is where my strategy of planting everything kind of mixed up with everything else falls apart a little bit when you come to redo the beds and you want to plant new stuff, because you don't have a full bed to like work with. If I want to plant something like a bunch of corn, which all needs to be together in a stand, or squash, which needs a lot of space to spread out, sometimes it's hard to find that amount of space altogether. So just going to pull all of these onions in this little section and get myself probably a bit of space for some squash. These white onions are not storage onions, they don't store very well, so I'm going to make a chutney. I'm actually planning to make a loquat and onion chutney because we have loads of loquats at the moment, and I think these white onions will be pretty nice in the chutney. The elephant garlic here is producing scapes. These are like the flower stalks. These need to be removed so that the garlic can put all its energy into the bulb. So I'm going to cut these off. They can be eaten. You can slice them up, stir fry them, boil them, anything you want. They're a bit like asparagus, I guess, texture-wise, and they taste like garlic. There's so many good ones up there, but they're super hard to reach. I'm gonna start with these, which is maybe 4 kilos, and see how we get on. So I thought while I was doing this I could answer a few more questions. I asked for some questions on Instagram the other day, thinking I would answer them in a video. There were lots of questions about the pregnancy and baby plans and stuff like that, which I'll answer in the next video. It's been a little bit tough the last few weeks, but I will tell you more about that in the next video because we have some appointments and stuff coming up, so yeah, we'll see how all of that goes. A question we get a lot actually, and a few people asked, is whether we accept volunteers. That seems like a good one to answer since you've just seen us working with volunteers on our goat donkey shelter. The official answer is no, we're not on Workaway or on woofing or anything like that, although we would probably like to be one day, but we will occasionally say yes, so sort of yes and no. The reason we're not officially open to volunteers is because in our experience when we've done it, it's a big thing to like cater for people, to organise meaningful work for people to do. I know people don't expect to be like waited on and have everything done for them, but still you want, you know, you're cooking for a bigger group of people, you're making sure that you've got actually meaningful work to do. That means having materials on hand, it means knowing what you're actually doing, having projects set up. It's just quite a lot, and we find that with me and Mauro, with Mauro working and me doing everything else, it's kind of too much for me to organise the projects, be on hand, and do cooking, any cleaning and tidying up and everything that he's doing as well. So we do it when we've got a project that we really want to do and we really need the help, but it's just not something that we could do sustainably on a regular basis. The way we could do it perhaps is by having multiple volunteers at once, having more at once, so that they kind of teach and learn from each other, so it's not so dependent on either me or Mauro being around to kind of lead the activity, and potentially volunteers could even do some of the cooking as well. I can see that working, but I think we're just not really ready at that stage to have lots of people around. We don't have massive projects to do, and we're still kind of getting started and figuring out what our daily routines are and what we even want to do. So that's why the official answer is no, but you never know. If you email us and you're visiting the area and you really want to volunteer here or do something, you never know, it might just coincide with a project that we really need doing. It might just work out. So that's kind of what's happened in the past. How long have I learned Spanish, and did I know Spanish before meeting Mauro? I actually have been asked this question many times and or variations of this question, and I've tried to answer it many times, but something has always gone wrong, like I've lost the footage or I ran out of time and it didn't make the final cut in the video. So let's finally talk about learning Spanish. I met Mauro in 2016 and we got together at the start of 2017, and that was basically when I started learning Spanish, so that was like 6 years ago. Having said that, I had learnt French before, like quite a lot, and that definitely helped, and I really like learning languages, so that was also very helpful. I studied Spanish pretty intensively before we moved to Spain in the end of 2020, so I would say that I studied at least an hour every single day for about 3 years. I taught myself using Teach Yourself books. I really like that series, so I did a lot of book work, a lot of writing, a lot of reading, and yeah, probably about an hour of active studying a day. I also have over that time taken over 200 hours of conversation classes. I used an app called italki to find teachers in different parts of the world, and it worked really well for me. I found a few that I really got on with, and especially during the lockdown when we were in the UK, I had many hours of conversation classes, and by the time I got to Spain I could have a conversation. And since I got to Spain, I haven't really studied Spanish at all actively, but I use it every day, and I do still read in Spanish. Every other book I try and read in Spanish. You would probably imagine that it really helps being married to a Spanish-speaking person, but actually until I was pretty confident and fluent in speaking, we didn't really speak together at all, and it didn't help whatsoever. But that's just me, because I felt super weird and awkward trying to talk to Mauro in a language that we weren't used to talking to. It was very weird, so I didn't really do that until I'd already practiced a lot with people on italki. I would also like to recommend spaced repetition flashcards. I did these for, about 3 or 4 years. I had thousands of cards, and it's a really good system. It's basically flashcards, but you use a piece of software which shows you the cards at like the perfect time when your brain is just about to forget the word. It's really good for building and cementing vocabulary. It's much more efficient than just having a load of cards and going through them by rote every single day and doing hundreds every day. With spaced repetition, you only see a few every day, but you see the ones that you really need to remember so that they stick. I used a free piece of software called Anki to create decks. I really recommend it if you're learning a language. I learned about the theory for spaced repetition, vocabulary learning, and loads of other useful tips and tricks about language learning in a really good book called Fluent Forever. I will put the title and author in the description. I really recommend it. You seem to be vegan/veggie. Would you eat meat that you raised ethically yourself? Yes, I would. Actually, during the pregnancy I am trying to eat meat once a week. Although I did have a blood test and my iron levels and everything were good, I don't know, I just feel a bit better if I am. But yes, we would, in theory, yes. In practicality, we've probably got a long way to go until we reach that stage, but yeah, in theory, yes, that fits with my ethics. Can you get takeaways to the farm? No, but you can come here and you can have a pizza cooked by Mauro, which is even better than a takeaway. Where do we buy all our materials, tools, plants, etc.? There's this really awesome thing in Spain. I don't know if this sort of thing exists in the UK as well, but it definitely exists in Spain, Portugal, called an agricultural co-op. It's just a big shop full of all the sorts of things that you might possibly need doing this sort of stuff. It's got some basic building DIY supplies, it's got lots of plants, it's got seeds, it's got garden stuff, it's got irrigation pieces, it's got chicken food, animal feed, straw, hay, all sorts, and yeah, it's just basically got anything you could want. At the right season, it's got like the garlic bulbs to plant, it's got potatoes, seed potatoes. It has just anything you think, oh, I really need some of this. It'll be in the agricultural co-op. It's a little limited. I mean, you can't get anything you can imagine. You can get the standard stuff that everyone else in the area is growing, doing, using. So that's kind of good, because the chances are if the thing you want isn't in that shop, you're doing something a little bit weird, which could be good or could be bad. So yeah, we get a lot of stuff from there. We also have a local builders merchants where we get cement, sand, building supplies, bricks, all that sort of stuff. And for anything that we can't get locally, we have the nearest big city is Castellón, which is about 45 minutes away. And we can go there, and they have big stores and stuff like that. What jobs have we both had in our life, and what have we studied? I studied English literature and Mauro studied engineering. We then later both studied software development, and we met teaching software development. Well, we met learning software development, and then we worked together teaching software development when we were like 25, 27. I had a lot of jobs in libraries before I switched to software development. I worked in school libraries, college libraries. The funny thing is I actually used to work in a building college in the UK, in the library there, surrounded by builders and plumbers, and in a library stocked full of books about building and construction and carpentry and stuff like that. And when I was there, I thought, well, if only I worked in a library about something more interesting, then I could look through the books and flick through them all in my spare time and actually learn something. Little did I know what an opportunity I was wasting. Mauro has had engineering jobs in the past, and yeah, in the last sort of 6-7 years or so, we've both worked mostly in software jobs. How did we meet? The neighbours, friends, people who help us. You see a lot of neighbours and friends in our videos. Sometimes we go there as well, help out on harvest and stuff like that. So yeah, a good question, and something people actually comment a lot and ask me is, what is the local community like? People mention that they're maybe worried about moving to a rural area, thinking that they won't meet like-minded people, or that their social opportunities are going to be a lot smaller. I can't speak for other regions of Spain, but at least here we've been super lucky. We're in the interior of Castellón, and we've found within a bike's ride from us many people of similar ages, similar backgrounds, well, all ages, all backgrounds really, but people who are doing similar stuff and are interested in the same kind of stuff that we're interested in. I think that anywhere you go, there are people out there, and once you meet one of these people who are, I don't know, interested in more like sustainable living, regenerative agriculture, small farm, homesteading type stuff, you will find more. One person will introduce you to other people, and I do believe that there are many of these people out here, Spanish people and immigrants as well. So it's actually been really easy for us to find people who are interested in the same sort of stuff, and we can help each other out on projects that we're doing and learn from one another. I think the first few people that we met who introduced us to everyone else, we actually met at the fountain. Our water comes from a natural spring, and a lot of people actually go to that spring to collect their own drinking water because it's really good water. And we just met a lot of people there and started talking, because there's always people there. And then you meet one person and they introduce you to other people who they think you might get on with, and it kind of grows from there. What is your favorite plant to grow, and what plants would you like to grow but can't grow right now? My favorite plant to grow by far is broad beans, because I love them. I love making them into hummus, I love making them into falafels, I love using them in any way that you would use chickpeas basically. And I have actually just uploaded a couple of recipes onto Patreon for how I use broad beans, because I used to think that broad beans were really boring and you just had to boil them and eat them as a side vegetable, but they're absolutely not. They're a legume, they're full of protein, they're so much more versatile than just like a plain vegetable. I've also made broad bean flour with them. So yeah, I really like growing broad beans. What I would love to grow is lemons. We have a couple of lemon trees, but they don't produce many lemons, and the lemons that they do produce have just been on the tree for literally like a year and they're not going yellow. I'm not sure what the issue is, whether they're not getting enough sun or enough something, I don't know, but we use a lot of lemons, so if we could grow our own lemons, that would be so good. Okay, I think that's it for questions. I'll answer some more in the next couple of videos. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and we'll see you soon.